Hello there, and welcome to this week's Owl Diary. Well, hello there, it's another week and another Owl Diary. I'm here in the Museum Gardens in York, our regular 7-day-a-week display. We bring different birds on different days and do flying experiences and handling with the birds with customers and so on. And it's nice and quiet because the gardens aren't just open yet. I've been given a key we've had for about a year now to get in and out when we need to, as the gardens open at 10:30 and close at 6. So we can get in early and set up before anyone's here. And as I found myself with some spare time, I thought, right, I'm going to fly Dusty the barn owl now rather than later, because we don't need to fly with customers today as such. So off she goes, little free flight. She's not gone too far, but we're going to get a little bit of flying out of her. And she's got her first wedding later this week. That's because Bailey, who is our common barn owl, he's very busy. He's doing weddings, he's doing flying experiences, flying shows as well. We've got quite a few of those coming up over the next few weeks. So we thought we'll get Dusty flying not just here in York but back when we keep the birds, but actually in events as well. So, a little bit of chicken there, Dusty. Do you want to come down for that? Come on then. She's just above us. Oh, there we go. Nothing too complicated. So let's see if I can get her to fly onto the wall behind me. Give her some exercise. She is a very good flyer. She's like a magnet to the glove. If you're looking at this bird and thinking, well, I do know barn owls, but she looks very dark, that's because she is a dark-breasted barn owl. Barn owls do come in lots of different colours. We get them in really dark shades. We can get, for example, the ashy-faced owl from the Caribbean. We've got this one, which has the dark breast as it's known. You've got on the front here these darker patterns. There we go, back on the top again. And I'm going to go back a bit further. Let's see if we can get a nice long flight back over this way for you. There we go. Right, lots of content in this week's Owl Diary, so enjoy the rest of this video. Well, it's another day and another event, and here we are at the Yorkshire Game and Country Fair near Malton in North Yorkshire. But we're not here with our birds of prey today, just our exotic animals. And as you can see here, we have a ferocious predator, and we also have a snake as well. And the snake is called Boris the boa. And it really is lovely to do these types of events because it's a bit different, a bit of an alternative to the falconry work we do. Sometimes we bring the birds and the exotics, but in the case of today, it is just exotic animals, including Oreo, the stripy spider. We have, of course, Donatello the tortoise, who's having a little walk around right now. A good selection of other snakes as well, and Velcro, our pink-tongued skink, and the big cockroaches as well, of course, who are munching on some lettuce right now. Now, the company who put this particular event together have actually booked us for birds of prey events further in the Now, the company who put this event together have asked us to bring our birds of prey to some of their other events. However, at this particular event, if I turn you this way, just a couple of tents down, we have actually got another company, and it's great to meet other falconers. It's a great way of learning about the industry, if you like, just learning about birds in general and so on. So as you can see behind me, there's a display here with Walworth birds of prey, with some magnificent raptors. There's a white-faced owl as well, and they have a flying display later on. In fact, they have two, and I'm looking forward to watching that and seeing their birds fly, because again, it's a way of learning and keeping myself up to date. It's amazing, no matter how much I know, how much there is still to learn. It's a constant journey, falconry, and that's one of the great things about it. So, we're going to enjoy today, I think, and it's dry. There's a nice atmosphere building. It should be a great day. what a fantastic event it's been. It's coming towards the end of the Game and Country Fair at Scampston Hall, and we've really enjoyed it. We've had so many people come up to us and hold the exotic animals and do various things. Now behind me you can see there are some horses and some riders. That's the main arena, and I'll be back here in September for another event by the same company, so I'm imagining that arena will be pretty much the same, where I'll be doing the flying show. So now I've had a little taste, a little look at what it's like. Really big. I've got to think big. Falcons flying, something big and impressive, the big owls chasing each other, whatever I can do to make it as spectacular as possible and actually make sure that everyone around there gets to see a bird fly close up. So during the event we did at one point have a sudden very heavy rain shower, but we still had people under our gazebo holding snakes and things like that, and we've had lots of people asking questions, as they always do. And one of the common questions we get, especially with the exotic animals like the snakes and lizards and things, is how do we know they're going to be safe and not wish to bite people? Okay, there are two things we do. Firstly, we select animals that are well renowned for being tame, docile, friendly, usually ones that are common to be kept as exotic pets. That's things like corn snakes, leopard geckos, that type of thing. We then handle those new animals when we get them as much as possible. We have different people handle them, and usually family members, things like that, just to make sure they are calm, they're not quick, they're not going to run off or do anything like that. So essentially that's what we do, and we are very cautious of the animals not being overheld. That's why we actually have 2 corn snakes, so we can alternate them, give one a rest, 2 large snakes, so we can alternate them and give them a rest, and so on. I've been looking around. I've even found a guy who's selling fishing gear who even actually has some falconry equipment. So we bought a glove and some other bits and pieces, which has been really very, very useful. So yeah, lots of people come to the display. We even had one guy come up to me and he went, "Crisp packets, Coke cans, sweet wrappers." I said, "Oh, stop talking rubbish." And on that note, let's get on with the Owl Diary this week. Well, what a week we're having. Look at this weather. Oh, isn't it glorious? Isn't it lovely? Not what the weatherman predicted. A few light showers maybe, he said. Hence the gazebo and the birds very much keeping dry at the moment here underneath it. But I'm a bit trapped at the minute because we have some thunder, we have some lightning. I dare say, is this another sign of the climate change? Because we know we have more extreme weather. Is it hard to predict? I don't know. We're not going to go down that discussion today. But this can happen, of course, and the path down becomes a bit of a river. We had a queue. Funny thing is, when the storm just started, I don't remember the thunder, I was doing a flying experience, there's some more lightning, and there was a few people waiting to hold a bird. So they came in, we did it under the gazebo, and they're now running away as quickly as they can, or hiding under trees. This is one of the joys of working outside, the unpredictability of it. And you know what, in some ways, it's kind of special, a storm, we don't mind. We don't mind, and the plants need watering. Right, better get these guys packed up then and try not to get wet myself. In a moment, I'm going to tell you all about Gulliver the Falcon's 3-day adventure. Yes, Gulliver's Travels. But before that, I'm going to do this week's falconry term of the week.
The falconry term of the week.
So this week's falconry term is the word mantle. It's a verb, and this is where a bird of prey catches its meal and places its wings low down and its tail feathers to hide the food. It creates a shield around that food. And it does this to prevent any other birds of prey or other predators from coming in there and suddenly stealing its food. So it mantles and then eats as quickly as it possibly can if it's safe to do so. And this is actually where we get the term mantelpiece from, because the mantelpiece goes around the fireplace. So there you go. This week's falconry term is the word mantle. So, Gulliver. Yes, we've had an interesting first week of the summer holidays. It's the busiest time of the year for us. We have so many events on. Our York display is always very busy, so it is really quite hectic. And what we didn't really need is a little mishap with one of our falcons. So Gulliver, he's our one falcon we currently have. We just need one for shows. It's enough to do the shows we do. And essentially he is a tri-bred falcon. He's half a peregrine, quarter gyre, quarter saker. So he's a lovely looking bird, quite light in colour, and he's fairly large as well. His flying weight is about £1 10.5 ounces. Just to let you know, if you're not sure what I mean, the weight of the bird determines how keen it is likely to be to come back for food. So that's his kind of main starter flying weight, and we can bring it up a little bit once his fitness improves. He has, over the last few months, been molting. This is where they drop feathers and grow new ones, and you can fly a bird through the molt, but if you want a very good molt, it's better to give the bird some rest from free flying and feed it extra food, lots of nutritious things like quail and mice and lots of other things, and that helps them to grow new feathers. So he's just coming towards the end of a molt now, and I thought I'd get him flying again, ready for some of these flying shows. We've got some big arenas to do shows in at the minute, so it'd be good to have a falcon back in those shows again. And I flew him earlier in the week a couple of times, just quick flights, little circle around and bound to the lure, and he was absolutely fine. And then on Thursday last week I then flew him just after some flying shows, and up he went. He was sort of flying about in the wind a little bit, that was fine. Then he got a bit further away, sort of in the distance, and then he kind of disappeared. Now, the birds, when we fly them, wear a GPS transmitter. We use Marshall GPS, and it was on his leg mount with a battery that was fully charged the night before on what we call extended mode. So that's a mode which slowly uses the battery power, as opposed to a high power mode which is pinging to a satellite very, very quickly. So it's 1 ping per minute on the standard setting of extended mode. So I left him for a little bit to see if he came back. I then went up there in the van, tried to find him, and I tracked him to an area with some big tall fern trees. I couldn't actually see him, but I knew he was above me somewhere. He then moved, and I didn't see him fly, but the GPS told me he'd moved, and he actually went into Harrogate, which is the nearby town, and he was on a roof. By the time I got there, he'd moved, and by the time we got somewhere else, he'd moved again. And then, unfortunately, the battery went into reserve mode, yellow on my iPad, which essentially meant the battery had shut down and had a little tiny bit of power left, just enough to hopefully find him if need be. So in that situation, you've got to restart the pocket link, which is the little receiver you have, and it will then find the satellite, find the transmitter, 1 ping, give you a last location, which should be enough to find a bird if it is just sat somewhere. But we continued to do this a few times, and then unfortunately, when I last saw him fly from a tree, I just caught a glimpse of him in the air there, big falcon with you could see the transmitter aerial, he disappeared, and unfortunately the battery had completely died. So what we then did was put the word out. Now, it's a good idea to shout about it and put it on every type of social media and on the radio and really make everyone to know about it in the area. The problem with that, though, is that when you shout, there's a bird of prey missing, suddenly everyone sees this bird of prey that's lost. And you're getting phone calls and text messages constantly. I've seen it over here. I've seen it sat on that building. I think I saw it flying above me there. And what people are seeing, unfortunately, wild peregrines and buzzards and kites and even pigeons. So it's very difficult then to determine where the bird might be to go and look for him. So we didn't shout too loudly. We let the Independent Bird Register know. That's an independent body run by Barbara, and she's a fantastic lady who does lots of work in helping to recover lost birds. He is wearing an IBR ring with a phone number on it, so if someone finds him, they can track him. And we put it out on some local sort of Facebook pages. Again, didn't shout too loud, and of course I did get calls saying it's here, there and everywhere, and most of these calls weren't actually true. Then the following day I was at an event. I was working away. I actually sent one of my staff members out to look for him as well, though, just so we had someone in the area, and if I got a sudden call they could get to him quickly. I then had something pop up on my phone on a Lost Bird of Prey page with a video clip. In fact, this here is the video clip.
Hello? Alright, pal? Eh? What's wrong? Have you hurt yourself? Hello?
So Gulliver's done there exactly what we thought he would do. In fact, the sort of thing he's done in the past, where he will go down towards people, make all that noise, essentially asking to be fed. He now hasn't eaten in 2 days by this point, so he's going to start to get very, very hungry. Unfortunately, the bird then managed to fly out before a falconer could get hold of him. They did attempt to. So he was then flying around again. The following day, so now we're getting towards day 3, I actually had another photo come up, sent to me, "Is this your bird?" And there was the bird on the fence, and I said, yes, that's absolutely him. And he'd flown out of Harrogate down towards Knaresborough. Later that day, I then got a phone call from Barbara from the IBR. You saw my phone light up, and I knew what that call meant. I picked the phone up, and the news was fantastic. Your bird has been found, someone's caught him, taken him to Yorkshire Bird of Prey Centre, ready to collect. So we then went to Yorkshire Bird of Prey Centre, lovely little centre ran by Andrew there, and there they have some magnificent birds, like the golden eagle, for example, and things like that. And there he was, in the little hospital shed in a box, absolutely fine. They'd fed him for me. So I'd just like to say thank you to Barbara from the IBR, thank you to Andrew from the Yorkshire Bird of Prey Centre, and thank you to anybody who was helping to look for him. I had a couple of falconers ring me offering to help, so thank you to anyone who did help. It's great to get him back. Now he's flying weight, as I said, £1.10. He was fed at the centre. We fed him when we got back that night, a load of food. The next morning I decided that was the time to weigh him and see where he was at, and he was down to £1.9.2 and that is still really, really low considering he'd had all that food. Essentially, if he'd been out another day, he may have started to get very weak, and birds of prey can actually go from looking quite healthy and energised to suddenly dropping and looking very unwell. So it could have been very sudden. So luckily we got him back. So it's a happy end to that story, and for me, lesson learned. Why did that battery die so soon when it should have lasted much, much longer? It should have lasted days. Well, I think I've recharged it too many times. Battery care is of course important, and I've missed a trick there. So I've learnt my lesson, charge some new batteries up, get some new batteries in, and we're going to label them all so we know how old the batteries are. So like I say, luckily the end of a very turbulent week was in the end a good story, and we have him now back, and we'll have a go at getting him flying free again in the next week or so. I'm just going to get his strength build up first. So there we have it, a busy first week. We've got lots of exciting things coming up this summer, so keep an eye on the channel over the next few weeks for all our fun summer activities and flying show things. Anyway, that's everything for this week's Owl Diary. As always, thank you for watching.